All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl. I am super excited to have Sober Dave with me on today's episode. And Sober Dave is someone who drank for 4 decades. He's based in the UK. He has now been sober for over 2 years, and he is also a sober coach. So welcome, Dave, and thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's so lovely that you've invited me. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm good. Actually, I'm almost at 2 years sober, by the way. It's going to be my 2 years next week.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. What's your sober date?
January the 7th, 2019.
Amazing. So you're just a few months ahead of me.
3 months, I think, yeah.
Oh, and today's the 8th. I was going to say it would be yesterday was your...
2 years, 3 months yesterday.
It's amazing. It's huge. Congrats. So why don't we jump right in, and we'll start off by, if you can just kind of tell me a bit about yourself, give me some context on like who you are and where you're from and kind of your life story.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Dave. I am based in London, not far from all the lovely tourist area of Chelsea and all around there. It's lovely where I live on Wandsworth Common. I started drinking when I was 14 years old, which seems to be quite a typical age back in the day. And at first I was what I would consider maybe like a normal social drinker, you know. Although it's young, we could get in the pubs in those days without ID, which might appear strange now, but there was no such thing. And I looked a bit old. I was quite big for my age, so I just got in there. And I used to get drunk a lot. But at that age, it's a new thing, isn't it? You probably, if you went back to that age now, you would absolutely hate the taste of it, which probably did then. But you mix with the crowd. And then it's kind of, I got into the wrong crowd then. So we used to hang around the shops. There's an area that I lived in called The Circle. It's a big roundabout with shops around it. And we used to just hang around there with cans of beer and stuff like that. Classy. But then we started going clubbing and what a typical lad would do, really. You know, and I was renowned for being a bit of a drinker, but it was never a problem because I wouldn't drink in the week. You know, it was never really, it was a weekend thing. And then I suppose in my 20s, I carried on with that social scene. It was more in my 30s and 40s that I got in trouble.
And so I guess that kind of covers, sort of leads into the next question, which is like, so you sort of covered how you started drinking, but how did your drinking increase over time?
Yeah, so I was always a lager man, a lager lout. I was renowned for drinking pretty quickly. You know, I was a bit of a glugger. So as I said to you, like in my 20s and that, I was sort of always the last one standing, being in a pub the next day on a Sunday, bragging about how drunk I got the night before. But it was in my 30s that I started going to a local pub, and I developed the nickname called Glugs, ironically, because people were astounded by how fast and many pints I could drink in a session, you know. Wow. So I used to drink 5 or 6 pints in an hour.
Wow.
But I also used to do the whole session as well. So on a Sunday, the pubs would open at midday and close at 10:30 p.m. And I quite often did the whole stint. And people would leave and come back and go, "You still here, Glugs?" You know? And I would get up and go to work in the morning.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And but I was a bit younger then, so I seemed to handle it. But throughout my 30s, it increased that I was more and more in there, you know, like popping in there after work, quite often leave my van there and walking home and stuff like that. So I was a real regular then. And I even had the place at the bar that I would sit, you know. Then I moved, and that's when I really got in trouble because it was a couple of miles away from the pub. And I was near a pub, but I didn't like it. So I started to drink indoors. And that is declined sitting in because where we were, a supermarket had a deal on like 3 bottles of wine for a tenner. So I used to buy them and quite often drink 2. And then that started drifting into 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to put on a lot of weight. So I Googled what alcohol has the least amount of calories. And I put Mr. Vodka. So I started on vodka, and that literally, when you say a decline, I ended up from my mid-40s onwards drinking a litre a night of vodka.
Wow.
But at weekends it was more, because I would always finish work lunchtime Friday, go shopping and get all my stash in for the weekend, knowing that I wouldn't go out. I was like a recluse. So I'd shuffle into my house at, say, 2 p.m. with all this shopping, and the bags were clanking away, and come out Monday morning looking like absolute death, you know, regretting it. What have I done? I've got to stop drinking. But of course, by mid-afternoon, the voice in the head, well, you can have 1, you can have 2, just get a bottle just in case. And then you're back on the hamster wheel of the week, aren't you? Where it's just the same-o.
Wow. And that is, once you hit going into the vodka, that is when you know, like for myself, it's like, I like the taste of beer, but once you've shifted to something where, vodka doesn't taste good.
Oh, it doesn't. But I don't know if anyone was to be honest, whether we really drink for the taste. I think we drink for the effect.
True.
And with the vodka, I was even buying the cheap brand supermarket version, because it was something like 15 quid for a litre. And I would quite often, pour, I've got a glass here, so I don't know if you can see that, but that's water, right, thankfully.
Yeah.
But that would probably be that amount of vodka for my first drink, and top it up with tonic, just to get that huge dopamine hit at the beginning. And then I could relax, and then I used to put my bottle next to me and my tonic next to me and some snacks, and turn the telly on, and that'd be it for the night. So I'd just sit there all night lugging the bottle down until I'd either pass out or I would finish it and then think, what have I done? And then go to bed. So, and I did that for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Nearly every day. So I got to a stage that I was massively overweight. I didn't have any real relationships in that time because I didn't want them up, because I just wanted to. I was in a bubble, of just not only self-destruction, but I just wasn't social. But the irony is, I got a call from a TV company asking me to interview to be on a makeover show. I know you've seen all the makeover shows, right?
Yeah.
So I went for the interview at ITV, and I got the job. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, geez, talk about chalk and cheese, going from being a reclusive drinker to then joining a team on the telly that are all used to each other. And they said, right, you've got to drive to Coventry and you've got to meet them. They'll be in this pub. I was like, this is so out of my comfort zone. And I walked in there was loads of camera crew and whatever, all having dinner and whatever. And I sat down, and obviously, because I was a big drinker, within a few minutes, they knew I was one of the lads. And I fitted in like a glove. And talk about being an influencer in the drinking side of that, because we used to hit it hard after a show. And that was a whole new level of drinking as well, because I was a reclusive drinker going to a social drink and then going home back to a reclusive drinker. So my whole life was always involved in drinking. There was never a part of it that wasn't, And I remember one night we got in late from filming, and instead of buying a pint each at the bar, our rounds were a bottle of wine each. And I had 4 bottles of wine.
Wow.
And then got up in the morning and had to film a whole day of this makeover. And I don't know how I did it. I don't even think I've watched that episode because I didn't want to see the state I was in.
Oh God, I know what you mean. When you just feel so awful that you're like, this whole day is just.
Yeah, I was poisoned. But then what came from that was the whole new chapter in my life, which affected everything leading up to me giving drinking. So maybe I can touch on that later or now or.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What was it that made you want to quit?
So basically, I've been doing this show for a few years, and we rocked up in Wandsworth in this beautiful little mews, and there was loads of us, 100 people or whatever doing this house. And the lady we did it for was a cancer sufferer. When she had triplets, she had triplets IVF, and 6 months later, she got breast cancer, and her partner left. And she was on her own, and the whole community rallied round, and they gave her some money, bought her a fridge, freezer, cooked food for them, whatever. And then they wrote into the show, and they agreed to do a makeover. So we did a job on her house. She come back. I don't know if you know Peter Andre, but he was the presenter. And I've gone to him, hello, give him a little nudge. Emma got out. She's now my wife, by the way.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah. She got out, and I said to Pete, bloody hell, she's gorgeous. A few weeks later, when the show was aired, I went on Twitter. We was talking about social media earlier, and I sent her a message. I was drunk, and I said, me and the crew, we're all together just watching your show. It's fantastic. You're amazing. And I was sitting on my own in my pants with a bottle of vodka, That was the stories I told myself. And anyway, we carried the conversation on, and we arranged for a date. And one day before our first date, it was Christmas jumper day over here. And I sent her a text message. Hi, Em, send me a picture of your Christmas jumper. Didn't hear all day long, nothing. I thought, maybe she's got cold feet about tomorrow. Anyway, she sent me a message that night, and I didn't realise she'd been at the hospital all day, and she was re-diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
Right? And we hadn't even had a date yet. Met the next day, and my gut instinct was, look, let's crack on. And a few days later, we were in the chemo ward, and she was putting the cold cap on, being plugged up to the chemotherapy machine. So it wasn't your normal, go for dinner, first kiss on the first date. It was straight in there. And we got to know each other really, really well, really quickly. And it was a year after her treatment, after she got through that I sold my house and agreed to move in, right? But previous to that, I knew I had to sort my drinking out, and I hadn't, because each day I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. And it was probably a few days before I moved in, and we'd had a few drinks, and I just made a confession. I said, I've got something to tell you. And I'd sold my house. I had complete everything, And I said to her, I think I'm a functioning alcoholic. And she looked at me, her mouth was open. It's like, what? And I don't know what to do and whatever. Anyway, she went into complete denial. It was almost like she went, I moved in. But what happened when I moved in was, obviously I hadn't sorted out my drinking, and I was climbing up the wall because she's not a drinker. And I was thinking, I said to her, should we have a bottle of wine with dinner? And that she went, oh, no. I had a cup of tea doing me. And that I was literally, for the first few days, it was like I was forced into cold turkey, but I didn't have any withdrawals or anything, but I was like psychologically climbing the walls. But, when we're big drinkers, we're very clever and devious. So I gradually started introducing it into the family home, And then, of course, she'd had cancer twice. I was feeding her alcohol. So that's obviously not good for her. But I was wasn't thinking straight, you know. So I started drinking more and more and more. And then she started to say to me, "You're right, you look different." And that, well, I was obviously drunk, you know. Then that's when the problems started. And I started hiding alcohol. I started lying. I started drinking heavily. I would drink 8.4% ciders before she got in from work and just say, I've just started on one. And basically, towards the end, before I gave up, I just knew that I had two ways to go: carry on with what I was doing or change direction, because I'd have lost everything. And to be honest, I would be pretty much surprised if I was still alive now if I carried on drinking.
Wow. And so what strategies did you use when you decided to give it up? Like, what did you do?
When I read Annie Grace's book, she was talking about her father, that he just gave up, as it seemed, because there's a thing called spontaneous sobriety, which appears you just give up, stop after years and years of drinking. And it appeared that I did that, but I think a lot of it was that subliminally I kept telling myself, had to stop. And when Em said to me, I can't deal with this anymore, my default setting was, I know I've got to do something about it. And obviously to her, oh, here we go again, because you can only hear it so many times. And then one day I got up on a Monday morning with a terrible hangover as usual. And a friend of mine up the road in my muse dropped me a text and it said, "Hi, Dave. How about we give up alcohol together for 3 months to see where we are in our health and marriage and our general life pattern, you know?" And I looked at it and I went, "You're having a laugh, mate. I can't even stop for 3 days, let alone 3 months." But do you know what? It trickled in throughout the day. And I started to think, where would I be? How would my health be? How would things be with them? How would my weight problem be? And my mental health, you know? And then I texted him about 5 o'clock and I said, "Are you in?" He said, "Yeah, I am," which is rare for him. And I wandered over and I looked at him and I said, "Let's do it." And that was it. That was 2 years, 3 months ago. And I haven't looked back since. And I didn't relapse. I didn't do anything. Because
Wow.
I think we know with big drinkers, they're all or nothing people. You know, and I was very all with my drinking, but when I decide to do something, I'm very all with that. So I stopped on that day, and I've had a few difficult times. We all do, you know, especially after 4 decades.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much a life, isn't it? But I became so focused on everything I was achieving.
Yeah.
7-8 days later, my wife was re-diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
So it was at that time that I thought, what do I do here? Because it'd be easy to just say, oh, I can't give up now. This is a nightmare, you know. But I did the opposite because I thought she needs me. And for one, like, we were sharing the same bed every night, where before I'd be falling asleep on the sofa every night. And I went to a treatment and I was fresher. I cuddled her at night and made her feel safe and stuff. And we went through the whole treatment again and I was present. And that really helped bolster my sobriety as well, because that could have gone 2 ways as well. That could have gone me going on a massive drinking spree, not again, you know, poor me, victim, or going the other way. And to be honest, it's the best thing I ever did for both of us in our marriage, because we regained our closeness but that, you know, that was a real challenge at the time, and it would have been easy for me to just go back to it.
Yeah. So tell me more about, like, what were like the hardest parts of sobriety, like getting sober?
I mean, obviously there's the cravings and the triggers and stuff, which the cravings are a lot more like a physical thing, aren't they? Because you're just yearning, you're lacking the sugar from the alcohol. So I started eating a lot of chocolate and stuff like that. But it was more getting used to the change of lifestyle. So where I live, Wandsworth Common is beautiful over there, but the local pub there is over sort of in the corner over there. And I walked my dog one day and I thought, oh my God, I would literally love to just wander over there and have a couple of beers and that. And I really struggled with that thought process. And I just stopped in my tracks and I knew that I was on a cusp of doing it.
Yeah.
So I turned left and I walked a different route. And I walked past the tennis courts, past the bowling green, round the other side, and it went. And I thought that could have been, that was probably 3 months in, I suppose, you know. So with Em's treatment, and that was pretty focused on supporting her in that. But, you know, you got the pink cloud and you know, the honeymoon period's over and stuff. And it was then spring, the sun was out. So that was reacting with me sitting in a pub garden. But then you know, I quite often say in my coaching that if you wind it forward and you think about how you would feel the next day, it's so powerful, because that changed it for me, you know. It would have changed everything for us. And for Em, she would have thought, oh no, we're back here. She was still having treatment and that. And I just dug my heels in. And of course I started my Instagram account as well, which I felt accountable to other people, because that's like climbing a ladder, isn't it? The more you go through sobriety, you know, but you're all equal, really. And I say to people when they say, oh, I'm only 2 weeks sober, I say, no, you're 2 weeks sober. You know, that's amazing. And it is, because in the beginning, each hour can be difficult, can't it?
Yeah.
So to reach, I found myself supporting other people and saying, come on, reaching my hand out, you can do it and whatever. And that really helped me as well, because I was accountable to other people. And I thought, well, I can't let them down, because they're looking at me to support them and they're relying on what I say in that. So I just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I found it really powerful to actually journal how I was feeling as well. And part of my Instagram was sharing my journey, good and bad. I've always been very honest about things. I've never made it all flowery and, hey, this is wonderful, because it's not always wonderful, you know. And that was just such a big thing now. And now it's a full-time job, really, but I love it.
Yeah. So tell me, how did it end up transitioning into becoming your work?
I became sober. I was training to be a counsellor.
Okay.
I've always been fascinated in how we think, how we react. And I've always been someone who likes to help people. I get a real thrill out of it, you know. So I'd done my level 2, level 3. But then my mum became ill, and unfortunately she passed away during the crucial part of level 3. And I tried to go to college, and they said, look, Dave, you know, please take some time off. And I was drinking more. And I just stopped going, and I said, look, maybe I can start again next year. But I found with helping people with their alcohol, I could really tie into it. You know, it was almost like a sixth sense. So I trained to be a peer mentor, did a bit of volunteering in recovery, said which I absolutely loved. I did a course on mental health first aiding, you know, so I've become that, and NLP, life coach, I'm qualified in that. And then I've just finished a course with Jolene Park on grey area drinking, which I think is another fascinating subject. And I become certified last Friday, and I just love that line of work. And now I've transitioned from my old job of 40 years, which obviously on the show, I was Dave the Carpet. I had a carpet company. And I never thought ever that I would have a career change, but I virtually do it full time now. And I absolutely love it. Every ounce of me. It's just the best job in the world.
So tell me about kind of how you work with people as a coach. Do you do group programs? Do you do one-on-one? Kind of what do you do?
Well, because of lockdown, everything's on Zoom now, isn't it? But actually, I work with people all over the world. I've helped people in the States, in Australia, Iceland, Alaska, which is fantastic.
It's amazing.
Ireland, everywhere. And I work on a one-to-one basis. And since I've finished my course, I work with people helping bolster their nervous system by introducing supplements, changing their diet, introducing somatics, so meditation, breathing techniques. Because when I gave up, and of course yoga, polyvagal nerve exercises, all these tools that I've picked up from doing the course, because I think in nowadays we rely on white knuckling quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I do this test called the Braveman test, and it works out if you're deficient on anything like your GABA or dopamine, serotonin. And if you are, I can help support that with nutrition and supplements and boost that up, so it makes it easier. And most people book 30 days and then decide to carry on or not after. My success rate's really good because I'm a good motivator as well. Because I've been there, so I've got the lived experience, but now Absolutely. I've got the tools from all the things that I've learned as well.
Absolutely. And I've had quite a few, I do sober coaching as well. And I've had other sober coaches on the show. And what I love is that everyone has kind of their own sort of expertise. And there are so many people out in the world that are struggling with this. And I feel like what we do together is like collective, and, someone who might be drawn to you for like that whole aspect of like holistic healing through supplements. Like that's not something I know about at all. But that's really cool. And that sounds like that's kind of what makes you unique.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've learned so much about it. And in fact, I did this test on myself and I was really lacking in GABA as well. So
wow.
I've started taking some more magnesium and zinc and changed my diet, even adding things like almonds, lovely fresh almonds at certain parts of the day, balancing out your blood sugar levels more throughout the day by eating small and regularly. That stops the cravings just hitting you hard. And
wow.
I'm on a journey with my coaching as well, because, as a coach, it's organic, isn't it? You just forever. And even having these conversations like today, you pick things up and it inspires you to maybe look at things differently. And I just, I've joined her mastermind group, which continues from the course for a year. So I'm going to pick up more resources and grow in that area as well. So, I'm 57 this year, right? I could easily be looking at retirement and thinking, well, I've been in my trade all my life. Why would I want to do anything else? But one, I've given myself an extra lease of life by a long shot. And two, I don't have to be 25 to be doing this. Do you know what I mean? I've got a world of experience in the field. Yeah. I've seen it all, trust me. I'm just learning all these new things that really float my boat. But what I've got to be careful of is that I don't overkill it with myself, because I go to bed at night and I'm reading books on addiction and I just love it.
Yeah.
I can't overdo it. I've got to watch a sloppy film or something with just to take my mind off it, because you need some form of escape, don't you?
Oh my God. I can relate to so much of what you said in this episode. Like I think I'm so similar to you in, well, first of all, like you're talking earlier about how you're just like kind of a rip the Band-Aid off, like, okay, now I'm quitting alcohol. And I was exactly the same. And now I've also exactly the same, just been fueled by my sobriety and become like obsessed with my work. So yeah, I will just spend, like yesterday was my birthday and I actually spent the entire day working, and everyone was like, you should take a day off. I'm like, but I don't want to.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I was in bed the other night and Em was on her iPad watching Below Deck. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh my God, it's awful. And I'm watching a YouTube video with Gabor Mate, and the two narratives couldn't be more opposite, But hey, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, exactly. And I like what you said too about like how the kind of the coaching is like evolving over time. And, every time I talk to someone new, I pick something up, and you know, when I hear you talk about your programs, I'm like, oh, I should do that. I should find out like, what supplements I need to take to balance myself. And so it's cool how you just like constantly learning and picking up things from kind of everyone you speak to.
Yeah, absolutely.
People listening to this episode want to find you, sort of where can they find you? And do you have any like offerings coming up? I know I saw one of your workshops, your writing workshop, which looks amazing, the Dear Alcohol workshop.
Yeah. Well, my wife's a writer actually, and she holds these writers' workshops. And I said to her, do you know what? I think there's a real niche there because we both know that journaling is such a powerful part of early sobriety, right? Writing down your feelings, acknowledging different stages of how you feel. And you can look back at it later on and think, God, I've achieved so much since then, or I can learn so much from how I felt that time, And I also encourage my clients to write a letter to alcohol, because at the end of the day, you are in a relationship. It's like having a sordid affair, and the affair always wins. And I wrote a divorce letter to alcohol. I had a complete breakup letter. And when I finished it, I read it about 10 times and I felt really empowered. And I thought, sod you, like that. I'm so over this now.
Yeah.
And you can put it in an envelope, put it in a drawer. You can even post it. Just put it, a blank envelope, whatever, however you want to do it. But it's getting emotions out of you onto paper. So we've designed these writers' workshops, which incorporates at the end writing a letter to alcohol, and we can share, we can discuss. And what I find with these workshops is that a few days later, they actually sink in. So many people have said to them, my God, I feel so different since that workshop. And they're like an hour long or something, and they're peanuts, really. But these are all other things that are useful for people, It's building your sober toolbox, isn't it? With a variety of different things. You don't have to have the same screwdriver in there. You got to have a multiple of different resources, tools, and that's like with my Instagram, I try to make that a place of resources so people can go on there. And I've got loads of lives on there. I've got videos, book reviews. I just really, really try and mix it up, just so it's almost like a one-stop page for people to get some inspiration from,
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded way round of actually saying where people can find me, actually. So on my Instagram, @SoberDave.
Cool.
And all my links are on there, on my link tree. On there,
Perfect.
My website's on there, email, contact, and pretty much when you Google Sober Dave, I'm everywhere.
Perfect. It is a memorable name. I remember I was saying, I don't remember when I connected with you on social media, but it's like one of those sober names that pops up, as like the Instagrammers in my head. So,
it's really strange. I worked hard at getting that name. Trust me. Really, really hard. My first name was this is Dave Today or something. Then it went from Sober Dave _ and I did a podcast like this, and the lady said to me, where can we find you? And it was like literally gobbledygook coming out, _ Dave, _ and it's like, I've got to do something about this. So I got it in the end, but it was a journey, trust me.
Oh yeah.
But worthwhile, I think. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like I've been through so many evolutions with mine. Like I've always been Alex McRobs, but it was wellness with Alex McRobs. It was Alex, the sober coach and yoga teacher for a while, and then it became Sober Yoga Girl. And as soon as that was it,
great, isn't it?
It was like, ever since then, it was kind of the, I don't know what's the right word, like kind of the factor or the thing that flipped it. As soon as you have your kind of identity, that kind of shifts things.
It's your stage name, isn't it? I know them.
Exactly.
And it's remembering without having to look them up. So that's a great name. I love it.
And I was going to say about the writing thing, actually, it reminded me, I got really into writing on my sober journey as part of like private Facebook groups. But one thing that I did was I wrote a visualization poem on like, day 5 or 6 of what day 30 would look like. That was like my big milestone. And that was like what fueled it for me. It was like imagining that milestone and how good I would feel. And so that's something that I invite my clients to do, is like writing a visualization poem. And it's cool because there's like different ways of kind of addressing it. But I love the Dear Alcohol idea. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look on Instagram and search hashtag Dear Alcohol,
I've seen it. Someone messaged me inviting me to do it. There was a campaign and I never got around to it, but I have seen it. Yeah, it's amazing.
It is so powerful, and the visualization, what you just said, is exactly what my friend said to me. How can you see yourself in 3 months' time? And that's what tripped it for me. It was like, I wonder how I would look and feel, and it's such a powerful thing to say to someone else as well, because it's that gets the imagination going.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So last question. What advice would you give to someone who wants to go alcohol-free?
I would say that if they're already there where they want to go alcohol-free, they've obviously thought about it. I would say talk to your loved ones about it, reach out for support. I know people have done it silently and it's been a real struggle. So maybe it'd be a best friend, someone on social media, your partner, have a discussion with them and say, look, I'm going to do this. Break it down a little bit as well, because sometimes if you make it too big, it's too overwhelming. So I always say maybe set yourself 30 days, see how you feel at the end of that. But also, when you attempt it, break it down into small pieces like that, saying 1 day at a time, because that's really important. Look at your nutrition. Prepare for it, be prepared. Don't go into it blindfolded. Try and join some sober groups on Instagram or Facebook, connect with people. Be positive, don't be a victim. There's no good going into it and, why can't I drink? It's like, okay, this gives me an opportunity to see how differently I feel after 30 days. And some people make the mistake of doing it to lose weight. And I sometimes think that's just the wrong thing, because we all know about the sugar monster coming in and whatever, because your body's craving sugar where you're not drinking alcohol and that. But just one thing at a time, be kind with yourself, lots of self-care, and just look after yourself and enjoy the ride, because it is fascinating and it's amazing. And as you can see by both of us, Alex, it's life-changing. It's if you go into it with that positive mindset, your whole life can change.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. That's so true. Well, thank you so much, Dave. This was an amazing episode. It was so nice to finally meet you after following you on social media for such a long time. And I look forward to kind of following you and seeing where your coaching journey takes you.
And you too. Feel excited about it. It's so lovely to talk to you as well. Thanks for having me on.
You too. All right. Have a great day.
Speak soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.